Some people talk about brightness in hi-fi as an undesirable trait, which tends to mean high treble. At the same time, when they start talking about a hi-fi being analytical, they're talking about too much detail. To be honest, I've got to admit, I love the analytical nature of Chord's cutest DAC. I also found a similar sound with the MkIII Brooklyn, albeit that the sound is a little bit airy and bright. But the thing is, I guess screaming detail doesn't suit every single system. It depends upon the rest of the gear in the system. Perhaps if you've got speakers that are already detailed and you don't need any more. This M2Tech is quite basic looking and unshowy, which is quite a good trait for hi-fi nowadays because lots of hi-fi units are quite showy and flash, and isn't it what's in the box and what it does sound wise that's most important anyway. It's a kind of box within a box, and it's got a big thick wraparound aluminium plate. It kind of looks a bit like Art Deco hi-fi. So it's going to be for people who want a preamp and DAC in one box, perhaps the Bluetooth receiver that comes with it. You might be using it with active bookshelf speakers or passive speakers. You could be using it in a small compact system, or indeed in a standard size system. Its compact proportions would suit being used on top of a desk. It's going to handle all your usual PCM files, high res, CD quality, DSD, MkIII. I think that's all, isn't it? So I'm using the M2Tech with my Cyrus Mono X200 signatures. What you have to also bear in mind is that So I'm using the M2Tech Young Mark III with my Cyrus Mono X200 signature power amps. But I've also tried it in this review with the Nord NC500 dual mono Class D stereo power amplifier. I'm using an Inuos Zenith as the source, and I've also got at the moment a Yamaha WXC50 streamer, which is an inexpensive streamer, and we can try it with that as well. I've also tried the M2Tech with a cutest DAC using the cutest analog outs into the analog inputs of the M2Tech. It's also pretty interesting trying it out with a laptop with audiophile installed, which is software to get the best out of using PCs for playing your music. I currently have some Ophidian Minimo mini bookshelf speakers being sent to me, which I'd like to try with the M2Tech as well, and perhaps I'll post a comment later about how I get on. What you notice when you play this DAC is it's got a really mid-focus sound. It's very good with bass and it's quite rounded. Comparison to the cutest, it's of a different sound preference. The DAC is a off-the-shelf Burr Brown type, and for its price around £1,350 in the UK, quite good performance considering what you're paying here. What I have found is that it does tend to highlight deficiencies in poor sources. So if you play compressed content from Tidal through the MkIII as opposed to streaming music from its hard drive, the M2Tech will show up that compressed content. When you use it as a preamp and DAC, it seems to come alive. You get more detail, there's a little bit more incisiveness to the sound, and it just comes through better. So in my system, it's pretty balanced. It's more balanced than the airy, bright DAC of the MkIII Brooklyn, and it's also more balanced than the DACs in my Cyrus preamp, their top of the range DAC XP signature. In the case of the Cyrus, it wouldn't be too hard perhaps, but the sound of Cyrus is tailored towards lean and lots of treble anyway, to be fair. What I did find is that when I used the MkIII Brooklyn as a preamp, soundstage shrunk quite considerably, whereas with this M2Tech you don't find that. I was actually quite surprised, and for such a small box, being so good with soundstage seems to defy its actual physical proportions. Also bear in mind that you can use the M2Tech Van de Graaff power supply with it. I can only wonder what it will do considering how good the soundstage is and the sound is through this little box as it is. Obviously it's going to sound much better using a much better source like the MkIII versus this Yamaha streamer, which is quite obviously the case. It's just more refined and just about better in every single area, but as I say, that's not surprising. If you use the QTIS as the DAC and send the analog output into the inputs of this M2Tech, then you get more detail, but again it shows the relaxed attitude of this DAC and how it does things differently. You might think that lots of hi-fi reviews just big up products too much, but the thing is nowadays most hi-fi gear is so competitive. The differences between one product and another are actually quite small, and it's what those differences are that I have to try and find out in my reviews. But what you also have to remember with hi-fi is that what you're trying to achieve is good value for money. If you don't get good value for money, then a piece of hi-fi isn't worth buying, and it's as simple as that. What this preamp proves yet again, if it didn't need demonstrating already, is that great value hi-fi is where it's at. So on that basis, it easily achieves the 13th note, and I'd go for it.